As Vice-Chancellor of the University, I declare this congregation open for the conferring of degrees by the authority of the Senate and the Council. My Lord Mayor, Chairman of the County Council, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to welcome you all to this degree congregation. It is a celebration for all those who graduate today. We celebrate your many achievements that culminate in the award of a degree from a major international research and teaching-led university. All degree ceremonies are special to the individuals who graduate. This is a special degree ceremony in several ways. First, it is part of the 80th anniversary celebrations, but it is also special to me, as it is the first graduation of students I welcomed to the university 3 years ago, when I joined the University of Leicester. Since then, we have changed in size. We are now a university of 18,500 students, just over 3,000 staff, and we have a turnover of approximately £150 million. We are a complex organisation. We are a business with higher education at its heart. During the time you have been in Leicester, the university has increased in intellectual stature. It is located in the top 20 universities in the UK for research and teaching. So look at it like this. If you bought a house 3 years ago, it would, by now, have increased in value. Similarly, your degree is now worth more than you could have expected 3 years ago. Indeed, it is in your interest to see the University of Leicester increase in stature in the coming years, and we hope that you will do all you can to promote the university. One of the highlights of our 80th anniversary year has been the inauguration of the Institute of Lifelong Learning by the Right Honourable Estelle Morris MP, Secretary of State for Education and Skills, when she referred to us as a role model for the higher education system. But you might ask, why should she say that? First, we are a research-intensive university contributing to the knowledge-based economy. We are in the top 10 universities in the UK for the research grant and contract income received for each full-time member of staff. Teaching is at the forefront of our activities and closely linked with research. It has also been regarded as excellent by all independent assessors who have visited 12 subject departments over the last 3 years. We are involved in widening access and widening participation by not just engaging in debates about lifelong learning, but thinking about how we can attract people from different social groups to the university so that they may share in the success in which we are involved. We meet and exceed our benchmarks. We engage in 2-year foundation degrees. We are a major university that contributes to distance learning. Indeed, over 6,000 of our students are registered for distance learning courses. This allows all of you graduating today to come back and do another course with us. And just in case parents and friends feel that they're excluded from this process, may I assure you that at the end of this degree ceremony, we will gladly sign you up for a distance learning course, so much so you can begin your studies next week. It's the fast route to another degree ceremony. But fundamental to all these characteristics of the University of Leicester are the people who work here. And I'm sure you would wish to join me this morning in congratulating Professor Paul Cooper in the School of Education on winning the Times Educational Supplement National Association for Special Educational Needs Book Award for his co-authored volume, Positive Alternatives to Exclusion. It is also a good opportunity for me to record the thanks of the university to Dr. Wendy Hickling, who is the person who has the honour of being the first student to ever graduate from the University of Leicester. But most importantly to us, she has maintained a very close contact with the university, and in the last 20 years has served the university in a splendid way through the work she has done through the University Council. And I'm sure that everyone would wish her every success with all the other things that I know she's going to do in the coming years, but to thank her very much indeed for the things that she has done for the university. But what are the challenges for universities and for the University of Leicester? Firstly, we need to continue to recruit high-quality students and to provide a high-quality experience for them. We need to continue to develop the contribution the university makes to the city, the county, and the region through a whole range of innovative activities. We need to develop new forms of learning using electronic means. We need to develop our library both physically and electronically, and I am sure that those of you who are graduating this morning will be delighted to hear that on Monday of this week the university agreed to build the extension to the university library, which has been long planned, that this will be built in the next 2 years. The University of Leicester has much to contribute. We hope you will continue to keep in touch with us and to encourage us in our endeavours. Finally, I would like to congratulate you all on the degrees you have obtained. The class of 2002 has maintained high standards. We hope you will keep in touch with the university, and I shall look forward to seeing you at alumni events. But before I close, I would like you to join me in showing your appreciation to your parents, relatives, friends and sponsors who have supported you through the university to arrive at this point in time. Now, what I've been doing in all the degree ceremonies is really to see which faculty or group of faculties can applaud the loudest. And you may say this morning, but we are a smaller graduating class, it's not fair. Well, we'll add a weighting in for that when we think about who's best later. But you still need to show that you can really demonstrate the quality of applause that you can provide this morning. So a big thank you to all the people who have got you through to this point in time. That's very good. Have a really enjoyable day, applaud your fellow students, and all good wishes to you in your future careers.
If we were to believe our honorand, Steven Frears, he came to be a film director of international acclaim through a series of what he calls chances, opportunities, and life shocks. Probe at all deeply into his career path, however, and you quickly find that that is a statement made by a man who does not take himself too seriously and who is very modest about his immense achievements in the field of the arts. The reality is that Steven Frears was born in Leicester during the Second World War, where he and his 2 elder brothers were raised by his mother, while his father was stationed with the army in South Africa. From school, he went to Trinity College, Cambridge, to study law, not, he says, through any sense of vocational calling, but because in those days that's just what you did. While he was deeply uninspired by the prospect of a career in law, his experiences of the thriving theatre productions of Cambridge University compounded his earlier experiences of tasting the theatrical nectars of the Nottingham Repertory Company. These, he recalls, had seemed to him so colourful and vivid by comparison with the images he held of the lives of the solicitor or barrister that he might otherwise well have become. It is unsurprising, therefore, that having qualified with his BA in law, he instead joined the London Royal Court Theatre, where he felt altogether more at home. This shift in career path led to his meeting with such theatrical luminaries as Albert Finney, the Czech director Karel Reiss, and the patron of the Royal Court Theatre, Lindsay Anderson. Our honorand recalls this as being a golden apprenticeship and was to become Reiss's assistant director before, in 1971, he was to solo direct his debut feature film, Gumshoe. The film, starring Albert Finney, was a satirical tribute to American detective dramas and became an instant success. Thereafter, throughout the 70s and 80s, he was to develop his talent and craft as a director still further, with a succession of significant UK television films and productions, including works by Alan Bennett, Neville Smith, Christopher Hammond, and Tom Stoppard. It was, however, in 1985 that his film My Beautiful Laundrette, which was written and produced with his friend Hanif Qureshi, brought forth the justified international recognition which was to follow. Originally intended for UK television, Laundrette was shot in 16mm film with a comparatively minute budget relative to that which he would later encounter in his Hollywood work. The film portrays the effects of racism and unemployment on working-class London from the perspective of a young Pakistani man struggling to carve his own niche in life. Once screened, it achieved such notoriety that it was taken to the States and there became a tremendous cinematic success. Thereafter, the Frears-Qureshi magic was to be woven again with Sammy and Rosie Got Laid, a film about a faltering relationship of a mixed-race and mixed-class couple in a poor area of London. From this point on, his contribution to the cinema was to grow exponentially. In 1987, he was to make Prick Up Your Ears, which adapted John Lahr's biography of the playwright Joe Orton, who was tragically murdered while at the peak of his career by his unstable lover Ken Halliwell. The film was widely critically acclaimed and was followed a year later by Dangerous Liaisons, which critics lauded as being shot exquisitely in the opulent world of 18th century France. Liaisons merited our honorand a Best Director BAFTA nomination, together with a number of international honors, and went on to gross more than $34 million at the box office. Oscars were also awarded both to the scriptwriter Christopher Hampton and to Glenn Close for her portrayal of the Machiavellian Marquise de Merteuil. Having achieved such success in Hollywood, his tremendous versatility as a director attracted the attention of producer Martin Scorsese, and they went on to make together The Grifters in 1990. This grippingly depicted a deadly power struggle among three con artists in Southern California, and like its predecessor, the film was critically acclaimed as confirming Steven Frears as one of the most gifted directors of his generation. Throughout the 90s, he alternated between America and the UK, making more than 10 major feature films. These included The High-Low Country, a 20th century Western, Liam, the story of a 7-year-old boy growing up in an Irish Catholic quarter of 1930s Liverpool, and High Fidelity, which transported Nick Hornby's cult book of the same name to the silver screen. In view of the extraordinary range of his work, it is unsurprising that Steven Frears has been described as by the world's film critics as having truly outstanding talent, originality, and versatility, which has led to his being of major impact and significance on the international cinematic scene. In contrast to such encomia, Steven himself would as ever modestly put it otherwise. To him, his career developments have all been little more than unexpected consequences of his desire to explore new and different areas as a director, born out of an aversion towards the reenactment of dull, unchallenging repetition. Fortunate for him, then, that he decided not to become a partner in a law firm in charge of conveyancing or contract law. Perhaps, though, that decision is even more fortunate for us, in that we have benefited, and indeed will continue to benefit, from his immensely varied and rich contribution to the cinema and the arts generally. At present, our honorand is making a film called Dirty Pretty Thing, which tells of the life of an illegal immigrant in the UK. We not only wish him well with its debut at the forthcoming Venice Film Festival, but we are also delighted to welcome him back to his birthplace of Leicester and to honour him here today. Mr. Vice-Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate and the Council, I present Steven Frears that you may confer upon him the Honorary Degree of Doctor of Letters.
I admit you to the honorary degree of Doctor of Letters and welcome you among us. Many congratulations.
The graduands in the Faculty of Arts will be presented by the Dean, Professor Yarrington. Will all graduands in the faculty please stand?
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit these candidates from the Faculty of Arts to the several degrees for which they are presented.
Graduands of the Faculty of Arts, by the authority of the Senate, I admit you to the several degrees for which you are presented.
For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Hughie Jones. For the degree of Master of Philosophy, Yoko Takami. For the degree of Master of Arts in Museum Studies, Nadia Arbach. Anastasia Balaska. Layla Beatty. Hannah Blaney. Georgina Brody. David Buttery. Anna Catalani. Samantha Clarkson. Louise Denise. Emma Dixon. Mo Egan. Elizabeth Finney. Alison Fowler. Emma Frater. Stuart Frost. Magnus Getson. Katerina Giostali. Philippa Griffith. Elizabeth Handel. Neil Happs.
Congratulations.
Sally Ann Heath.
Congratulations.
Joanna Hopkins.
Congratulations.
Christopher Kirby.
Congratulations.
Rachel Knight.
Congratulations.
Simon Lake.
Congratulations.
Chien Yi Lin.
Congratulations.
Catherine Mayak.
Congratulations.
Aspasia Mansouri.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Anna Marshall.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Joanne Marshall.
Congratulations.
Louise McHale.
Congratulations.
Molly McFarlane.
Congratulations.
Claire Middleton.
Congratulations.
Sally Perec.
Congratulations.
Eileen Perry.
Congratulations.
Helen Poole.
Congratulations.
Alistair Ramage.
Congratulations.
Anna Ramsden.
Congratulations.
Catherine Reeve.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Julia Sargent.
Congratulations.
Francine Smith.
Congratulations.
Vasiliki Stataki.
Congratulations.
Catherine Stokes.
Congratulations.
Christopher Taft.
Congratulations.
Jennifer Thompson.
Congratulations.
Alexia Travlou.
Congratulations.
Heidi Ulleberg.
Congratulations.
Foteni Vakrasta.
Congratulations.
Claire Valerino.
Congratulations.
Mary Webb.
Congratulations.
Polly White.
Congratulations.
Martin Wickham.
Congratulations.
Stella Wisdom.
Congratulations.
Eating Ye.
Congratulations.
Janine Young.
Congratulations.
Dimitra Zapri.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English, Joanne Adams.
Congratulations. Well done.
Ross Aspinall.
Congratulations.
Rebecca Balmer.
Congratulations.
Miriam Beattie.
Congratulations.
Natasha Bentley Leake.
Congratulations.
Louise Barrett.
Congratulations.
Alexandra Bradshaw.
Congratulations.
Jacqueline Bryan.
Congratulations.
Philip Buckingham.
Congratulations.
Robert
Well done.
Buxton.
Congratulations. Well done.
Louise Byrne.
Congratulations.
Natalie Carter.
Congratulations.
James Chadwick.
Congratulations. Well done.
Nicola Cimelli.
Congratulations.
Ashley Clark.
Congratulations.
Laura Clark.
Congratulations.
Octavia Coombs.
Congratulations.
Philip Corrigan.
Congratulations.
Heidi Dady.
Congratulations.
Sarah Davis.
Congratulations.
Patrick Dixon.
Congratulations.
Mevin Durasami.
Congratulations.
Denise Eaton.
Congratulations.
Claire Etchell.
Congratulations.
Lucy Evans.
Congratulations.
Gemma Fallon.
Congratulations.
Ben Favreau.
Congratulations. You've got a time card here.
Jill Feasy,
Congratulations.
Simon Fletcher,
Congratulations.
Keris Flew,
Congratulations.
Gillian Fox,
Congratulations.
Sarah Frame,
Congratulations.
Terry Gibson,
Congratulations.
Jagvinder Gill,
Congratulations.
Sarah Gillett,
Congratulations.
Heather Gray,
Congratulations.
Sarah Griffin.
Congratulations.
The winner of the Jean and Arthur Humphreys Prize and the Dr. Wallace Henry Prize, Laura Griggs.
Congratulations. It's very well done on the prizes.
Laura Herbert,
Congratulations. Well done.
Stephen Hilling,
Congratulations.
Isabella Hulliman,
Congratulations.
Isella Jago,
Congratulations.
Lucy Johnson,
Congratulations.
Stephen Jones,
Congratulations.
John Keary,
Congratulations.
Leah Kenny,
Congratulations.
Karen Lanson,
Congratulations.
Ruth Law,
Congratulations.
Roland Lawrence,
Congratulations.
Christina Locke,
Congratulations.
Gary Madgwick,
Congratulations.
Alice McCrone,
Congratulations.
Thomas McNabb,
Congratulations.
Lucy Mead,
Congratulations.
Ben Meehan,
Congratulations.
Jonathan O'Connell,
Congratulations.
Catherine O'Shaughnessy,
Congratulations.
Heidi Ortman,
Congratulations.
Sonia Owens,
Congratulations.
Victoria Perry,
Congratulations.
Marion Putrell,
Congratulations.
Eleanor Pomlet,
Congratulations.
Charlotte Rigby,
Congratulations.
James Ringer,
Congratulations.
Maria Roberts,
Congratulations.
Anna Robinson,
Congratulations.
Justin Robinson Price,
Congratulations.
Stephen Roddy,
Congratulations.
Amanda Rowe,
Congratulations.
Neetu Sakrani,
Congratulations.
Rosemary Sanderson,
Congratulations.
Amanpreet Sandhu,
Congratulations.
Janine Scott,
Congratulations.
Jodie Smith,
Congratulations.
Emma Spencer,
Congratulations.
Peter Spratley,
Congratulations.
Christopher Stanley,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Kate Stevens,
Congratulations.
Kate Storer,
Congratulations.
winner of the Waddington Prize, Sonia Suman,
Congratulations and well done on your prize.
Chloe Theobald,
Congratulations.
Amy Thomas,
Congratulations.
Rachel Tompkins,
Congratulations.
Lucy Wade,
Congratulations.
Anu Wall,
Congratulations.
Jennifer West.
Congratulations.
Eleanor White.
Congratulations.
Elizabeth Yates.
Congratulations.
Claire Yao.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English European Union, Benjamin Alcock.
Congratulations.
Lucy Charlesworth.
Congratulations.
Claire Humphreys.
Congratulations.
The winner of the G.S. Fraser Prize, Daniel Kelsall.
Congratulations and congratulations on your prize.
Joanne Parry.
Congratulations.
Jennifer Roberts.
Congratulations.
Laura Scarrett.
Congratulations.
Kate Silverman.
Congratulations.
The winner of the Waddington Prize, Sally Walker.
Congratulations. Well done. Well done on your prize.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit to the several degrees for which they are presented by my faculty those candidates who are absent.
By the authority of the Senate, I admit those candidates who are absent to the several degrees for which they are presented. Anyone entering the Maurice Schock Medical Sciences building at the university will pass a door labelled confocal microscopy. Most do not realise that behind that door lies not only a mass of sophisticated equipment, but also a famous author who has written 16 books and a whole host of short stories. Chris de Lacy spends his days producing wonderful images of biological material, and his evenings and weekends producing even more wonderful stories for children and adults. Chris was born in Malta, but came first to Leicester as a small child. Later, he moved to Bolton, where he attended the local school. Ill-informed by the English teacher, who opined that Chris had not a creative thought in his head, his headmaster insisted that Chris take science A-levels, ignoring his protestation that English and music were his true loves. Chris moved on to read biology at York and did very well, laying the foundation for a long career in scientific research. He came back to Leicester to work at the university in 1978, first as a histologist, preparing material for microscopy, then in charge of electron microscopes. As technology developed, he moved into the new field of confocal microscopy, which allowed him to create images of great scientific value, but often also of considerable beauty. Throughout his 20s and 30s, a creative flame burned strong in Chris, finding its expression in songwriting. This gave Chris much pleasure, but eventually he tired of songs and decided to turn his hand to prose. Initially, he concentrated on short stories for adults and made a modest success of publication in the small press and magazines, describing his work as a mixture of the comic and psychological. Throughout his writing career, he's been supported and inspired by his wife, who is the first to read his work and his most constructive of critics. One Christmas, he bought her a cuddly toy, a polar bear, and decided that the story would be a suitable accompaniment. There followed a 250,000-word saga about polar bears, which he still hopes will be published one day. There, things might have stayed, but for a competition offering a prize of £2,000, only this time for a work for children. Chris decided to have a go, and drawing on his polar bear saga and his passion for the environment, he wrote Hole at the Pole. He didn't win the £2,000, but
but was spotted by a publisher who snatched up the story, which became a considerable success. Chris steadily developed his skill of writing for children, which he admits is very difficult, and produced in 1996 his best work so far. Fly, Cherokee, Fly is a story modelled on his own experience of finding an injured pigeon in Victoria Park and nursing it back to health. Transferred to the world of childhood and dealing with difficult themes of bullying, the work was submitted and eventually shortlisted in 1999 for the Carnegie Medal, the most prestigious award for children's fiction. Chris's reputation as a children's writer was now firmly established, and commissions for new works flooded in. He has just completed commissions for 5 more books and still produces short stories every year. In 9 years as an author, he's written 16 books on a variety of themes. Often the stories involve animals, but one of his other interests did not begin to figure till he visited a local school. There, a young lad, not noted for his fascination with literature, pointed out forcefully that if only Chris wrote about football, he might just read it. Chris works tirelessly to promote reading and creative writing in local schools. He visits regularly and holds workshops and storytellings to stimulate the interest of local children. When telling his stories to enthralled group of admirers, he always makes sure to leave them on a cliffhanger, so they will be stimulated to go and read the rest of the story for themselves. Like most creative people, Chris does not like to analyze his work and feels he does not really know how he does it. The trick, he says, is to listen to the little voice inside your head, which tells you how a story should develop and how to convey it to your audience. That little voice is, of course, what the rest of us all envy, true talent, which Chris uses so well to bring pleasure to so many people of all ages. Mr. Vice-Chancellor, on the recommendation of Senate and Council, I present Chris de Lacy that you may confer upon him the Honorary Degree of Doctor of Letters.
I admit you to the honorary degree of Doctor of Letters and welcome you among us. Many congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a few short words. I was visiting a school in Ipswich recently and talking to a group of young children. And I'd been babbling away for about 10 minutes or so, and a little girl in the front row, who could have only been about 6 years old, raised her hand. So I paused to see what her question was, and she said to me, "Excuse me, Mr. de Lacy, when are you going to stop talking about you and start talking about books?" Well, I hope she isn't here today, because I'm going to talk almost exclusively about me, so, but that's kids for you. I'm very, very flattered to receive this doctorate. All of us, particularly creative people, like to be acknowledged for the things that we do. And I'm very fortunate in this regard anyway, in that I already receive a steady stream of positive feedback from children who read and enjoy my books. I receive letters of glowing admiration from them, sometimes telling me where I might have done a bit better, or sometimes telling me that they preferred the book to Harry Potter, for instance. And I keep those in a little gilt-edged frame, marked negotiations for next contracts. My favourite is actually the boy who recently came to my house to post his letter of thanks by hand, and apparently tiptoed all the way down the street and posted the letter through the letterbox in absolute silence. Desperate not to disturb me, just in case I was working on the sequel to his favourite novel. But this degree is a wonderful complement to all that. It perfectly endorses what I do in schools and libraries for our youth, I suppose. But you don't get this far without the help of one or two people. And I'd like to thank just a couple of people. First of all, my wife, for her support over the years. She is the best critic and editor that I know. Also, both sets of parents for their love and support. My colleagues here in the university, who have always taken a great interest in my other life, as it were, and have given me great encouragement and support down the years. And also the university itself for, I think, providing me with an environment in which I could explore my creativity and allow it to flourish. And of course, not forgetting the university bookshop, who carry a comprehensive range of Lacy titles, all freely available, £4.99, very reasonable. So, on behalf of myself and my fellow honorand, thank you very much indeed, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
The graduands in the Faculty of the Social Sciences will be presented by the Dean, Dr. Green. Will all graduands in the faculty please stand?
Mr. Pro-Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit these candidates from the Faculty of the Social Sciences to the several degrees for which they are presented.
Graduands of the Faculty of the Social Sciences, by the authority of the Senate, I admit you to the several degrees for which you are presented.
For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Karen Gill.
Karen, you are admitted to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Very many congratulations.
Sybil Phillips.
Many congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Arts in English Local History, Susan Burns.
Many congratulations. Well done.
Paula Casson.
Many congratulations.
David Holmes.
Congratulations. Well done.
Sonia Shilhan.
Many congratulations.
Catherine Ward Langman.
Many congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Arts in Sociology of Sports, Lars Apple.
Well done. Congratulations.
Mark Brooks.
Many congratulations. Well done.
Berta Schaeffler.
Many congratulations.
Kinsuke Yokoyama.
Many congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Sociology of Sport, Neville Earl.
Very many congratulations. Well done.
Sil Sampi.
Very many congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Master of Science in Sociology of Sport and Sports Management, Shea Kwong Gyong.
Very many congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Master of Science in Training, Jeffrey Butcher.
Many congratulations.
Alan Hughes.
Many congratulations.
Gillian Palmer.
Many congratulations.
Andrew West.
Well done. Many congratulations.
Nelson Yao.
Well done. Many congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Training and Human Resource Management, Wasila Al-Musawi.
Very many congratulations. Very well done.
Chris Breslin.
Many congratulations. Well done.
Ruby Brown.
Very many congratulations. Well done.
Olivia Chan.
Many congratulations. Well done.
Alice Chow.
Very many congratulations. Very well done.
Seong Chu.
Many congratulations. Well done.
Jessica Chu.
Many congratulations. congratulations.
Amy Chow.
Well done, many congratulations.
Barbara Greaves.
Barbara, well done, many congratulations.
Angeline Horu.
Many congratulations, very well done.
Joseph Jacob.
Many congratulations, well done.
Kenneth Kwok.
Many congratulations.
Yip Lau.
Many congratulations, very well done.
Polly Lawrence.
Many congratulations, very well done.
Helen Lee.
Many congratulations, well done.
Cynthia Lee.
Very many congratulations, well done.
Selena Lowe.
Well done, many congratulations.
Jenny Mack.
Well done, many congratulations.
Paula Miller.
Well done, many congratulations.
Nicholas Rodgodu.
Well done, many congratulations.
Faye Richardson.
Well done, very many congratulations.
Mark Ridley.
Well done, many congratulations.
Paul Samet.
Well done, many congratulations. Well done.
Naomi Segev.
Many congratulations, well done.
Lorraine Sweeney.
Many congratulations, well done.
Sarah Tang.
Well done, many congratulations.
Jeff Ying.
Excellent, well done, many congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Training and Performance Management, Barbara Banda.
Well done, Barbara, many congratulations.
Elisa Karen.
Many congratulations, well done.
Candy Lee.
Congratulations, many congratulations.
Catherine McTaggart.
Well done, very many congratulations.
Selina Sheck.
Many congratulations.
Anna Swee.
Well done, many congratulations.
Susan Thompson.
Well done, Susan, many congratulations.
Mr. Pro-Vice Chancellor, I ask you to admit to the several degrees for which they are presented by my faculty those candidates who are absent.
By the authority of Senate, I admit those candidates who are absent to the several degrees for which they are presented.
The graduands in the Faculty of Education and Continuing Studies will be presented by the Dean, Professor Fogelman. Will all graduands in the faculty please stand?
Mr. Pro-Vice Chancellor, I ask you to admit these candidates from the Faculty of Education and Continuing Studies to the several degrees for which they are presented.
Graduands of the Faculty of Education and Continuing Studies, by the authority of Senate, I admit you to the several degrees for which you are presented.
For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Yaron Gile.
You are admitted to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Very many congratulations.
Brian Wilson.
You are admitted to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Very many congratulations.
Zhao Yung Wu.
Many congratulations.
For the degree of Doctor of Education, Jacqueline Isles.
You are admitted to the degree of Doctor of Education. Very many congratulations.
Krishan Sood.
Very many congratulations.
Tim Waller.
You are admitted to the degree of Doctor of Education. Very many congratulations.
Chun Chun Ye. For the degree of Master of Education, Robert Dowie. For the degree of Master of Arts in Applied Linguistics and the Teaching of English to Speakers of Other Languages, Juan Ferretti. For the degree of Master of Arts in Primary Education, Marlene Samuels. For the degree of Master of Arts in Professional Studies in Education, Margaret Brady. Margaret Flounder. Amoy Lim. Ivan Scales. For the degree of Master of Business Administration in Educational Management, Linda Al-Arayed. Simon Bellamy. Peggy Bent. Veronica Best. Jane Bramwell. Berna Bridge. Jonathan Britton. George Candano. Margaret Claridge. Zoe Coles. Hannah Cox. Patrick Daly. Andrew Evans. Timothy Ayton Jones. James Fairley. David Forsyth. David Gardner. Bent Holtzman. Lindsay Jackson. Pauline Jansen. Kenneth Kerr. Jane Kievsky. Janice Maria. Francis Maguire. Susan Pearman. Jeffrey Reeder. Alan Rees. Beata Shirkovaki. Athelstane Seraphin. David Stoughton. Helen Wilson. Florence Azeka. Mr. Pro-Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit to the several degrees for which they are presented by my faculty those candidates who are absent.
By the authority of Senate, I admit those candidates who are absent to the several degrees for which they are presented.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, Lord Mayor, Chairman of the County Council, graduates of the University of Leicester, ladies and gentlemen. Degrees are like false teeth. They're very useful to have, but not that obvious when you look at the person who has them. Think about it. I'd like to begin these closing comments by adding my congratulations and those of the staff of the university to all of you who have received degrees this morning. In the case of our distinguished honorary graduates, it is one of the good things about a university that it can recognise in this way the achievements of those who have contributed to society, whether it be in business, the community, or academia. It is worth reflecting that the knowledge of our honorary graduates this morning gives them weight. Their achievements give them a special lustre. We've not weighed their knowledge, but we've noticed their shine. It is their visible achievements that we are celebrating this morning. Indeed, the university is honoured that Dr. Steven Frears and Chris Lacy consented to accept the degrees we've conferred upon them today, and it gives us great pleasure to welcome them to our academic community. To the graduates in the body of the hall, you've gained your degrees in a different way. You've studied over 1, 3 or more years, and your graduation today represents in every case a significant personal success. As well as your family and friends, the staff of the university also share and rejoice in your achievement. In their worst moments, the staff sometimes may have thought of that extraordinary definition of education as that process of casting false pearls before real swine. But more often, they will have rejoiced, as Jacob Bronowski did, that students bring a certain ragamuffin, barefoot irreverence to their studies. You have not been here to worship what is known, but to question it. And we hope you will continue to ask questions throughout your lives. If you came to us from school and it is your first degree, you can go forward with some comfort. You may have some debts, but a survey of East Midlands graduates has recently shown that on average, at about 35, you can expect to earn about 48% more than your non-graduate peers, and by 45, 86% more. Some of you may feel at this point that one of the ultimate advantages of education is simply coming to the end of it. This feeling was encapsulated by a student colleague of mine many years ago on another subject when she said, "It's a pity that Latin is no longer taught in school. It removes the infinite pleasure of giving it up." But in this fast-changing world, your studies may not stop with today's degree. Remember the words of Pope John Paul I, who said, "If someone told me I would be Pope one day, I would have studied harder." You may need to expand, revise, or change the direction of your learning. Do remember, if you do that, that this university is a major provider of postgraduate courses. As the Vice-Chancellor said, the university greatly values its contacts with its graduates, and we hope that you will stay in touch with us and with those with whom you've studied through the Alumni Association. We very much rely on the support of our graduates in many ways, not least we hope that you've enjoyed your time here and that you will tell others about the University of Leicester. To the many parents and friends in the hall, we hope you will have enjoyed the day. Your support and encouragement in all its forms has been of the utmost importance to our students and to us. You will be rightly proud of the successes of those we have awarded degrees to today, and we hope you have a wonderful day with wonderful celebrations. University is about all kinds of things, not only study, but also learning from making mistakes. Albert Einstein once commented, "Anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new." It's about learning independence, learning to teach yourselves. It's about appreciating other points of view and other cultures. It is about learning tolerance and consideration. This is the very stuff of civilization and of peace. Finally, as you leave this ceremony today, let me tell you that in America and some other parts of the world, this occasion is not known as a degree ceremony, but as commencement. You now enter a new phase in your lives. Empowered by your education, you will make choices that impact on your own lives and on the lives of others. We wish you every success.
So this brings us to the end of the proceedings for this morning, but I think so that we are clear about the volume of applause that you've very successfully transmitted during the degree ceremony, I think we should say let's have one more round of applause for the graduating class of 2002. I now declare this congregation closed.